had a little bit out of place. So I had two seating options. I could sit at a table all by myself, or I could fight through the nerves and go ask one of the ladies if I could sit with them. So luckily I recognized Audrey, and I walk over and I said, "Hey ladies, would you mind if I sat with you?" And they said, "No, of course, Heaven, sit down, sit down." So I pick a side and pull my chair out, sit down. One of the ladies with a big smile looks at me and says, "Wow, usually we have to pay for this."
Come on, Brent.
So, as I mentioned, I'm very honored to be here and teach you some of the things that I've picked up over the last 5 years. I really want to make today's seminar fun, because I truly believe that caregiving can be fun and that it can be a life-rewarding experience. And I know that the 8 years that I helped my family care for my grandma, it truly was rewarding, and when I look back at it, it changed me a lot. So let's go over exactly the goals of today, so we're all clear what we're going to learn. I want you, when you walk away from here today, to understand the relationship between healthy aging and prolonging independence. Number 2, healthy aging will help us in all aspects of our life, including caregiving. So it's not just about staying fit and shaving pounds. It's about healthy aging can help us as caregivers. 3, planning will give us the guidance needed to help us keep exercising and eating right and keeping our mind sharp. And lastly, aging healthfully is our choice. Because excuses are really easy to make, but at the end of the day, it's our choice if we decide we want to be healthy or not. So speaking of healthy, I was lucky enough to just go on a bit of a working holiday to Europe last month. And I just wanted to see how the older population in other continents and how it operated and how people took care of their parents and how healthy they were. Well, I saw a lot of similarities. They love tennis. Do we have any tennis players in the room today? Only one tennis player, wow. How about golfers? Any golfers? A few more golfers. This one I don't think many will have many of these, but any hikers?
Yes.
We don't have that's good. There's as many hikers as tennis players, but we don't have a lot of mountains around here. But in Austria they do. And I found myself in Innsbruck, where they had the 1976 Winter Olympics. I don't know if anyone remembers those Winter Olympics or not, but I'll paint the picture. Innsbruck was nestled in between two massive mountains. They look a lot like the Rocky Mountains in Canada. Well, they love to hike there, and it's one of their touristy things. So I decided, well, I'm a tourist, I better go up one of these mountains. So I could either take the gondola, or I could grab my backpack and take the 3-hour hike, 3,500 feet straight up. Well, I took the gondola. Just joking. I wouldn't be talking about healthy aging if I took the gondola. So I headed up the mountain, and about 3 hours later I got to the top, and I was pretty exhausted. I could barely take another step, but I was feeling pretty full of myself. I was feeling like I was literally on top of the world. Long story short, I thought I was a well-oiled machine. But the truth of it all is I could barely take another step, and my water ran out, and I was exhausted. And I'm bent over gasping for air, and all of a sudden, and I look up. Well, here's a pack of 75-year-old seniors riding their bikes right past me to the top. I couldn't believe it. It was truly amazing. Because not only did they walk up the hill, they rode their bikes up the hill. And it was evident that day that it doesn't really matter how old you are. You can do anything that you set your mind to. So these are just 3 examples of people that are a little older than me that have done remarkable things. So that brings me to, why am I here today? Why are we all here today? And it's to talk about how big a role healthy aging has on living an independent, active lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what we all want? We want to be independent. We want to be able to take care of ourselves. We don't want to have to rely on others to take care of us. See, the older Austrians, they had it right. They really understood the relationship between healthy aging and prolonged independence. That's one of the secrets you're going to hopefully figure out today that we already knew. I'm just going to remind you of it. The healthier we are as we age, the longer we're going to be able to take care of ourselves. So we know that healthy aging will prevent disease and falls and keep our mind sharp, but a lot of us in this room have maybe never actually thought, how does healthy aging help us as caregivers? Because the chances are the majority of us are in here have caregivers or are active caregivers. So we're going to touch on that, but first let's go over what healthy aging is, and then we will cover how healthy aging can help us as caregivers. So this is a definition. Oh, did that skip a slide? So this is a definition from Canada Mental Health. So Health Canada defines healthy aging as a lifelong process of optimizing opportunities for improving and preserving health and physical and social and mental wellness, independence, quality of life, and enhancing successful life course transitions. Of course, Health Canada wouldn't make that easy on us, would they? So I could analyze this definition, which is very confusing. It's accurate, but it's very confusing. But I'd rather tell you what healthy aging means to me. And then after I'm done telling you what it means to me, I'm going to ask some of you what healthy aging means to you. So healthy aging to me is being able to dress and bathe myself. It's about waking up with a smile on my face and going to bed with a full heart. It's taking risks and always learning new things at any age, no matter if you're 80 or 35. It's about anticipating problems that will affect my health. Exercise, for example, exercising to prevent stiffness, spreading salt in the winter to prevent falling, eating right to prevent high cholesterol, and volunteering to stay mentally active. It's about being proactive and understanding that it's my choice to make. So that's my favorite point of the whole part there, because those two are very important. It's about being proactive, and it's about being your own choice. So what does it mean to you? Do we have any volunteers that would like to tell me, if I ask right away, what's healthy aging to you? What first comes to your mind? Independence. So healthy aging is independence.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to just yell it out?
Peace of mind.
Being able to travel. And sorry, what's the back one?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind, knowing that maybe the decisions you're making are the right ones. And yes, good point, travel. I think the generations that are coming up or the baby boomers, we all love to travel. Well, if we want to travel, again, that's the point I'm going to try to make today, is that's only possible, or it's a lot better of a possibility if you age healthy. So how can healthy aging help me as a caregiver? It reduces the amount of responsibility placed on you. So, also, following with that, keeps your energy levels up, causing you to be more patient. I know as a caregiver, I'm sure you all know this, that you get exhausted because you're spending 80% of your time taking care of someone else. Well, if you aged healthy and you were in better shape and you ate right, you'd have a lot more energy at the end of the day. It gives you a break from caregiving so you can focus on yourself. Often as caregivers, we get so overwhelmed with our responsibility that we forget that we have to take care of ourselves. And healthy aging is a really good excuse. For example, if you love going to the gym, well, maybe you have to force yourself and make the choice to go to the gym a couple hours a week to give yourself a break, because it's going to benefit you and the person you're caring for. It keeps you healthier so that you won't require care so soon. So that's the part that I find so frustrating when I talk to a lot of people about aging, is they're so focused on caring for the other person. And this is probably because they're so overwhelmed with it, that they forget about themselves. They forget that they're aging too. And the more they burn themselves out and the less healthy they are, the sooner they're going to require care. So remember, folks, just because your day seems like it consists of caring for someone else, you have to care for yourself too. It helps you fight off isolation and caregiver burnout, because if you're spending 80% of your day taking care of your parent or your loved one, you're going to forget that you should go and do some of the things that you enjoy. And because you forget that, you become isolated and you forget to go out with your friends for tea. And you just become overly exhausted. And then it's not fun anymore. It's not rewarding. It improves self-esteem and feeling of accomplishment. Like I said, when I climbed that mountain, I felt like I was a well-oiled machine until I looked up. But at least for a little bit, I felt like I was a well-oiled machine. It builds self-esteem. And it helps you want to get out of bed in the morning. Sometimes as a caregiver, I know through several interviews, that you can become depressed and you can really, because of that exhaustion, you don't want to get up. You don't want to put a smile on your day and have a full heart when you go to bed. Engaging exercise now. So I want you to turn to the person on both sides of you and introduce yourself first, and then tell them one way that you could start aging healthier, which will help the person you're caring for. So go ahead, say hi to each other. So I heard a couple exercises. Does anyone else want to shout out some of their answers? How could the people in the crowd start aging healthier?
We'll talk afterwards.
Dick says he wants me to set him up on an exercise or two. No, Dick loves pole walking, don't you, Dick?
You don't know how to spell pole, incidentally.
Oh, did I spell that wrong? You should have an E maybe on the end there?
Yeah.
What are some of the other examples in the crowd that you could help you age healthier?
What's this? Pole walking.
Completely. Some other ones. Massage, that is a good one. What else? Swimming, keep firing them.
Yoga.
Yes, I go to yoga 4 times a week and love it. I suggest it to everyone. Laughter, good one. I don't know where you could go, maybe a caregiver forum or something.
I'm just
Have a hobby.
you know, looking after for your grandchild. I'm raising my grandchild. You know, that's why it makes me keep lively.
Yeah, that's another good one. And that's actually a really good one. All right.
I dance 6 or 8 hours a week.
Pets is a really good one, actually. And Audrey and I were just talking about pets earlier.
Yeah, I dance 6 or 8 hours a week.
You're a dancer.
I do.
You want to show us a quick move?
Well, have you got some music for a polka?
No music, but I think I know the step.
Oh yeah, but that's the cowboy polka.
I think I'm too young to know the one you're talking about.
You got to get a couple of more steps in there.
Well, I guess for the next forum we're going to have a polka dancing competition here between us at laughter.
You're really good.
So as a caregiver, in order to age healthy, it's just not one key component. It isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It takes many skills and many tools. But the good news is I know that every single one of you in here has these tools inside of you. You just have to choose to take the responsibility, as I mentioned earlier, to want to age healthier. Excuses are made very easy. And it's these excuses that kind of steer us off track and prevent us from keep living as active and healthy a lifestyle as we should. So 3 of the tools, and there, like I said, there's a whole basket of them, but 3 of them, commitment. So you all showed me that today because you showed up to the forum. Communication. You all just introduced yourself, so we all know how to communicate with one another. And cooperation. You listened attentively to me and the other people that were giving you suggestions of how they could age healthy. So again, it's inside of us, so we can't really make excuses if it's already there. You just have to find it. So that all equals healthy aging. But there's one tool, and that's the reason why I'm here today. There's one tool that will help you age healthier. It will help you be a better caregiver. It will help you fight through all of those excuses. I believe truly in my heart that it's this tool or skill that we all have that we're constantly forgetting about when it comes to the caregiving process. And it's because we forget about it that causes a lot of us to be in a lot more crisis than we need to be. It's this tool that I'm actually dedicating the rest of my life to preach about. What is it? It was in the title. It's planning. Something very simple. If you want to be the best caregiver you can possibly be, you have to start to learn how to plan. If you want to live the rest of your days in your own home, or you want to help your loved one or your parent live in their home till the end of their days, you have to make a plan. Where most people go wrong is that everything seems fine. Their parent or their husband and everybody's happy and they're ticking right along there, and all of a sudden, boom, something happens. Crisis strikes, a fall or a stroke. And now what happens? Our life's unraveling before our eyes. And that's because we have no guidance. When something happens, as people, we need to be able to follow something or have a plan or be able to resort to something to help guide us through the situation. But as caregivers, because we tend not to plan, my family's included on that one, we were in crisis, and then we're making split decisions going, what do we do now? And then anxiety kicks in, and guilt and peace of mind that was mentioned over there earlier. And it's tough, but a lot of these emotions, which I want to remind you of, can be prevented if we plan. So is there some kind of plan that will help me and my loved one age healthfully? In business, when you start a business, you write a business plan. And this business plan spells out exactly what you're going to do for 5 to 10 years. And you keep referring back to that business plan when the company needs a change or whatnot. Well, that's a funny concept. Could we not apply those same principles to caregiving? And I know some of you are probably looking at me going, yeah, Brad, they're called care plans. And yes, you're 100% right. But those are called nursing care plans. The care plans that I'm going to call them today, we're going to call them family care plans. Because nursing care plans are typically written by nurses. They're typically only written after an accident or some sort of loss of independence. And they're usually pretty specific. A family care plan, what I'm talking about, it's written by the whole family. So it's written most importantly by the parent, and it's assisted by the child, the grandkids, the relatives. And it's a plan that can start being made at retirement and carried right through till end of life. But most importantly, and this might be a crazy idea, but it's written before crisis in order to help you navigate crisis. Just like a business plan helps a business navigate through the markets. So these are examples of some care plans that could be included in the family care plan. So let's think of the family care plan as a book. And these could be pages in the book. So the example that I'm going to talk about today is, say your dad can no longer drive or shouldn't be driving and the children are worried about it. So what do? Well, easy. You flip open your family care plan to page 15 and it's spelled out exactly what you should do. And the best part of this is that your father talked to you about this plan 5 years before when he was in good mental health, because everybody in the family knew that one day he wouldn't be able to drive anymore. The hard part was to get him to admit that, but when we finally did, we made a plan. So we know that the first step is to check his medication, make sure it's not making him dizzy. The second step was is to have him only drive during the day. But what if dad is driving during the day and is still a danger to himself and society, and you have to actually revoke his license? This is going to be tough. What do? Easy. You flip to page 16. You knew this was going to happen. You and your brother decided with your father, or if your father doesn't want to cooperate in this step, that you're going to involve the family doctor. And you're going to take dad and have the family doctor explain why his driver's license needs to be revoked. And if dad still doesn't want to give up his license, then the family doctor can remove the license, so you don't have to. So you're going to cry still. And this is going to be tough, because when your dad's yelling at you and he's angry and you just stole probably the biggest chunk of his independence away from him and he's blaming you, You're going to be upset. But at least you can go to bed at night and think, you know what, I am upset, but I know I made the right choice. I had the peace of mind that I made the right choice. I'm confident in my decision. And yes, it's kind of a sticky situation, and I wish I didn't have to go through it. But we did, and we made it through. And it doesn't have to be your dad, it could be your husband too. Sit down with your husband before this comes and say, what are you going to do when you can no longer drive and I have to take your license away? You might not be able to approach it all in one conversation. It might take 2 or 3 months. All the women are laughing like, man.
Takes a while.
Yeah. So I'm not naive. I'm not trying to say something and make all this fluff up. I know it's tough. And that's why communication is one of the most important factors in caregiving. Communication and planning. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at these. I don't want to read them all, but these are just 8 of about 25 plans that you can discuss. And one that I really would like you to pay attention to is what happens if a parent falls and breaks a hip, because statistically this is going to happen. It's what forces us out of our homes. So if we know that, why don't we just write down on a piece of paper what we're going to do when mom falls and breaks her hip? Just think about that. Go home. So let's do just a quick overview, because I know that I only have 45 minutes and I am trying to get as much information to you as I can. Planning causes you to be a better caregiver. All right? I'm sure a lot of you in here are excellent caregivers. My point is planning can help you to that next level, because we can always be better. Being a better caregiver will help our loved ones age healthier. So if we understand how we can make our loved ones' lives easier and make our own lives easier, we're all going to age healthier. And finally, if we know how to age healthier, we're going to be able to prolong our independence. So there's a bit of a hierarchy here, but again, notice planning is at the top. I truly believe planning is where it should all begin. So if planning is such a big part of our lives, then why do we tend not to plan for caregiving? That's the million. So we talked about that planning plays a key role and it's often overlooked. And we talked about healthy aging can help us become a better caregiver. But I go to these seminars and presentations all the time and I learn in different aspects. And what I find is I'm always walking out the door and I'm thinking, wow, what a great performance, what a great seminar. And I open that door and I'm like, wait, now what? I just learned all this information, but how do I get started? What do I do? So I want you to all take your registration packages and open it up, and you'll find a package of information for this seminar. And what I'm going to do is I included 3 care planning sheets that you can take home with you, and that can be the start of your family care plan. So that can be 3 of 25. There might only be the only 3, who knows? But at least you have a way of getting started and you can actually see a physical document of what I'm talking about. So the first one's the likes and dislikes. Can I borrow you? Everybody find it? Put your hand up if you haven't found it. There you go. Okay. So the likes and dislikes. How this one is if your parent is hospitalized. So for example, I'll say parent because as a spouse you'll probably know your husband or wife a lot better. But as a parent, pretend my mom is hospitalized. I've spent a lot of years with my mom, but I have no idea what her likes and dislikes are. I'm not going to be able to make her very comfortable in that hospital bed if I don't understand what her likes and dislikes are. So here's a simple sheet on page 2 there and page 3 of a lot of different options that you and your parents or your loved one can go through and write down what they like, what they don't like, and how they can be made more comfortable. One of my favorite ones is, I hate sleeping with my feet under the blanket. I can't stand it. But if I'm laying in a hospital bed and I'm unable to communicate that to anybody, and my feet are under there and I can't kick the blanket off, I'm going to be going crazy. And my life, I'm not going to be healthy aging because I'm going to be finally getting my first gray hairs. The second one, It's the care provider roles. This is a big one, and you probably should have a few plans in place or quite a few conversations with your parent or siblings before this one happens. But this is a great sheet because it causes the whole family to get on board, because as primary caregivers, which I'm sure most of you are, you realize that often you feel all alone and there's no one to help you. This sheet gets everybody on board before crisis. So your brother, he agrees to doing the mail and the bills, and your grandkids, they can do the house cleaning. And when all of a sudden something happens, you're not running around doing it all yourself, because you open up your care plan and you say, well, hold up. Fred said he would do this. Jane said she would do this. And you call them and you say, Mom, we already discussed this in the plan, and it makes everybody's life a lot easier, and we can all be happier. And last one is my favorite one, and it's called the NaviCare Dare. And this is a dare that I made up, and it's about 60 questions. There's 20 tasks there, and they're not very hard tasks. And often I know with my grandmother, when she had dementia, it was hard. What do I do with her? It was hard to communicate with her, and I was starting to feel like the quality of care I was providing to her was going down a bit, because my creativity levels were going down. Well, the NaviCare Dare is something I dare every one of you, if you are looking after somebody, to go through with and do these roles together, these tasks together, and it's gonna give you ways of having fun. So, example, read a book in the park, or go out and buy your guys' selves some new outfits, and check it off and go through all 20, and you're gonna feel a self accomplishment afterwards. Again, which is going to help you age healthier. So in conclusion, I want to point out that independence is a gift. Being able to attend this forum, for me being able to stand in front of you guys and be healthy enough, it's a gift, and I've been working my whole life to stay healthy and keep my independence. So I don't want to give that up. So let's all make the choice today to recognize that planning is the key to helping us age healthy. Let's make that choice today. Thank you. I think I left some time for questions, if anybody has any. Yeah, at the back.
Where do we get these planning guides?
These three specifically are from NaviCare. And I don't want to do any self-promotion, but when we launch our website, there's actually a care planning formula part 1 course and a part 2 before and during crisis. And you can take the online course, and there's about 25 of these documents. And it takes about an hour a week for 6 weeks. And at the end, you put all the pages together and you have a plan, actually. So we do it for you. But that's all I don't want to be up here selling myself. So any other questions about healthy aging at all, or what I talked about? Any disagreement or anything? Any rebuttals?
One of the things that we talked about here was this business of planning ahead, the financial side of it, the legal side of it, which is a very essential part, the wills, the living wills, and so on.
I totally agree, Jeff. One thing that I think is a major driver in prolonging independence, which again directly affects healthy aging, is being able to financially afford, because I bet you at every table it was talked about, how do I live at home financially wise when it comes to the point where I can no longer dress or bathe myself and you're almost forced out of your home. Well, if you want this, you truly want this, and you want it to be a possibility, then you do have to plan ahead, and you have to start. I like to say that the day you retire is the day you should start planning for post-retirement, is what I call it. So it's up at those 80-year-old plus years. So retirement's 65 to 80, post-retirement's 80 plus. And I truly believe two of the best ways are financially wise. So if you have 15 years and you're putting a little bit away all the time, and I know this is tough because there'd be a lot of fixed income and pension, but it is possible if you start planning. It's a lot more possible anyway if you plan 15 years prior than a year before, and all of a sudden the doctor says, well, no, your wife can no longer go home anymore. What do you do? Well, you've been saving for this day for 15 years, you planned for it. Good point, Dick.
Can I disagree with that and say you need to start before you're 65?
You need to start in high school.
Thank you, Joan. Yes, I totally agree. I just, whenever I say before 65, everybody usually goes, "Bleh." So I like to say 65 because it's hard enough to get people to recognize the importance of planning in their baby boomer years or later than it is to for my generation. But that is what I'm essentially trying to do here, is set an example for my generation. So when I'm caring for my parent, which is a baby boomer right now, that a lot of this will be already discussed, and I'm going to do my best to prevent crisis. Because I lived through crisis. I didn't live through it as much as my mother did, and I never cried myself to sleep every night like she did. But I was smart enough to recognize she was crying herself to sleep, and my education degree said, whoa, if I educated myself and all my family members about this subject, then I won't find myself crying myself to sleep every night when my mother hurts herself. So I totally agree. I think it should start early. But with that being said, I think everybody in here should also start realizing that they need to start planning for themselves, because we're always so focused, as I mentioned earlier, planning on caring for someone else, that we also forget that we're aging. So please take that home and remember, you don't have to start seriously thinking about it today, but at least put it in the back of your head and remember, someone's going to be taking care of me one day. Who should I be talking about some of this stuff with right now? Anyone else?
To get back to what was said earlier when Elliot made her presentation and talked about the provincial election too. And I guess I just want to say, in terms of planning, speaking as somebody who had to quit their job to take care of my mom and who I've been cashing any RSPs I've had to live on while I've been taking care of her. So I mean, talk about blowing up your plan. I guess I feel like I will get back on track, and I know that, but I also think it's important for us to think about how we plan to be a compassionate society. And I guess Elliot talked about that, but on a grander level, because I'm in a fortunate position that I at least believe I'll soon be able to find another job when my mom is more settled, and I'll be able to get back on my feet. Hopefully, God willing, health permitting for me and everything too, right? But there's lots of other people who are in more difficult situations and wouldn't be able to do that. And I guess I feel like more than ever, having been through what I've been through, that I think it's important that we all of us who can and have the wherewithal, need to start speaking out and doing our best to make a society that can make a plan that helps people who can't make the plan and don't have the money to set aside.
So you're saying in order to create a compassionate society, we have to speak out more and educate each other?
I think so. To do whatever we can to make that happen.
Does anybody else have any points they want to make at all? We have a little bit of time here, so open it up. If anybody, I know as a caregiver, sometimes it's hard to find time to voice your opinion, or you have lots to say. Feel free right now. We have probably 1 hour 10 minutes.
I think there's a huge difference. I looked after my mom for a while, or make sure she was in a safe place and have the things that she needed. But doing that and looking after a spouse is two totally different things. Totally different.
Where do you find the comparisons? Or sort of the differences? Where do you think the differences lie?
Well, with my mom, I could make sure she was in a safe place. Then I could walk away from there and be away from that. Now, I'm with that 24 hours a day. I do get out because I do work. But when I'm at work, the only day that I have peace of mind is on the Thursday when he's at the day program.
I was respite.
I agree with her 100% because personally, I have been a caregiver for people with home care when I lived in Alberta. It was so much easier to go out and be compassionate to people. And then when your job was finished, you went home. You went into your own life. But when it hits your spouse, it hits you too. And that area is sometimes very, very difficult to deal with.
Yes. I think a lot of us probably went through that.
So, and you talk about planning. I agree with your planning until it happens and it falls apart. I did a planning, for instance, we just bought a house. I didn't want to buy a house at this stage in our life. Bought a house because we couldn't find housing suitable for us in the city without having to wait several years. So bought a house. If my husband was to die today, I would be on the street financially. So I bought a house with what I thought was a legal suite in the basement. After we got into it, the suite is not legal, plus the house is crumbling apart. And that's in the last 6 months.
Oh, I feel for you.
So,
Well, let's give her a round of applause for her strength for coming today. That's gotta be tough. Anyone else? Any other comments? And I agree with the planning, and I do slightly disagree because I do think planning is throughout the life aging process. I think it can prevent a lot of conflicts if you plan early, but when you find yourself in a crisis and your life does unravel, it's the plan that keeps you guided and focused, which is, to me, the key to help relieve a lot of those emotions, is because you have something to turn to for support, because I know as caregivers, we often feel like we're alone and we have no support. Well, even though it's just a document, you'd be amazed at how much, in my experience, that can help people. All right, well, other than that, we'll wrap this up, I guess. We'll have Pat come back up. Closing remarks.
Okay.